everyone. I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart International, and we are so excited today to have with us on the Real Estate Podcast. We have Emilio DiSpirito from Rhode Island with us today. Say hello to everyone, Emilio.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Todd.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. Today's podcast is going to be so powerful because it is about 5 power moves that you can do today to increase lead conversion. And one thing I got to start right off the bat, Emilio, thank you. Some agents like to keep all their secrets to themselves and don't like to share. And I've seen what you've put together for everybody here today, and I know it's going to help agents around the country in their business. And I just want to thank you for your willingness to share your insights, your experience. Some of this I know you learned from just, real life experiences in the real estate industry. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I'm really humbled to be here. And you know what? What is the fun in not sharing secrets? It keeps us on our toes so we can continue to create and innovate.
I love it. All right, so real quick, so that everybody knows a little bit about who they're going to spend the next 15 minutes with or so, is I want to give a little background on you. You are one of the top 10 teams, or you run one of the top 10 teams in all of HomeSmart nationwide for the last couple years. Is that correct?
Yes, it was. I think last year we were number 8 in units, and the year before number 4.
Awesome. And I also, everything that you're going to go over today, I appreciate your heart, that it's really about serving the consumer. And I know from, experience and just hearing your stories, as well, that everything, the place that your team comes from is helping more consumers, educating more consumers and helping them. And I really like that servant heart. So I think that's going to come through. But to get us started here today, can you give everybody a little bit of background? Because, there's a lot of credibility sitting right here in Rhode Island, that they need to listen to. So tell us a little bit about your team. How many years have you been, how many years ago did you form it? How many years in business, I guess? How many team members? What they do? Do you have buyers representatives, seller representatives? Just give us a little makeup of your team.
There's a lot of questions. I don't know if I can remember all those.
Sorry.
But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you very much. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to Dean Court. He brought HomeSmart to Rhode Island. I think it's such a fantastic platform. You guys rock at HomeSmart International. Thank you for everything you do. And secondly, basically 6 years ago, I was eating ramen noodles and I was broke as a joke. Eviction notice on my door. The tow truck was coming. I had to hide my car. It was fun. So I always said, what can I do to catapult myself to the next level? And I realized it takes more than just me. It takes an entire team. It takes an entire network. And that's what we built. And I believe that because I have people around me that are better than me, that we've been able to grow and really do well. But we're not quite there where we want to be yet. And I kind of look at it like Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots. Love him or hate him, but the guy is never satisfied, and he's always looking to be better. And that's kind of our take.
I love it. Well, tell us a little bit about your team, though. How many team members?
Yeah, so there is, we're up to 5 agents right now. We just hired one. This man literally just quit his job to jump in on the team. We were really honored and humbled that he felt that strongly about us. He was actually a client of ours. We've got Joe Fazio. We've got Jackie Gervais. We've got Lauren Peters. We have Mike Tellier and myself. And then we have Sarah and Casey in the background.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So, and you run by the name, the DiSpirito team, right?
Yes.
And you also have a blog, which we're going to post later, the URL to the blog, because some of the things you're going to talk about today are fine-tuning your wording. Instead of answering one way, maybe answer a different way. So I know that you're going to post this, some of this on your blog later, but we'll put it up for all of you in the audience to go visit his blog later. So, hey, so without further ado, let's talk about 5 power moves. Where do you want to start? What's number 1?
Well, first off, listen, you can have any coach, you can have anybody tell you what to do, this and that. At the end of the day, a lot of it is BS, and it's money you're throwing out the window, because ultimately, if you're not getting up in the morning and making the moves you need to make, nothing's going to happen. So it all takes action. So that brings us to our step number 1, and that's speed to action. Okay? So you got to do a little bit more than just show up. You need to make sure that you're that we're getting calls and taking them within 4 minutes, that we're replying to people within 4 minutes. Because if not, it's my estimation that we're losing about 90% of the opportunities.
Okay, so what's your rule with your team? Like, do you have a rule that speed to action?
Yeah, absolutely. So during business hours, and we can shut those off and turn them on at any time, but basically between 8 in the morning to 9 at night, we're calling people back within 4 minutes if we missed a call. If somebody is out on showings or if somebody is unavailable, they're going to have follow-up boss or our virtual assistant, our CRM or our virtual assistant, reach out to them with text, email, or a call.
Love it. All right, so number 1 is point number 1 out of the 5 power moves is your speed to action is 100% vital, right? So, so tell them a little bit then about going on to point number 2, what you do. So you say point number 2, winners are recognizable. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, it all comes into how you introduce yourself, because literally in the first 3 seconds, like, let's see, whoever's listening to this podcast, they may have liked what you or I had to say because they're still here. Thank you very much. Within your first 3 minutes of accepting a phone call, taking a phone call, they're going to either want to hang up on you or they're going to want to listen because they're intrigued and you're really talking about something they want to hear about. So I'm going to give you 2 different scenarios, okay? Okay. Let's say this is a Zillow lead, okay? So here's how I think people normally do it. This is how I started doing it at the beginning. Like, hi, Adam, this is Emilio DiSpirito with the DiSpirito team, HomeSmart Professionals. You called on, click, done, gone. They don't care. They don't know who you are. They're saying, who the F is Emilio?
Right.
They don't know. Right? They don't know. Right. So what we realized is when we pick up the phone, we say where we're from as in the lead source so they can identify, because they're looking around clicking on 30, 40, 50 different properties. They've got so many agents calling them. They don't know which way is up. They don't even know their name, right? So it's like, so I say like, hey, hey, Adam, this is Emilio DiSpirito. I'm a local agent with Zillow. You contacted me about property 123 Main Street, that red house up on the hill. What can I help you with? So I kind of keep it short and sweet and tell them where I'm coming from.
But here's the thing that really spoke to me. I mean, when I saw that on paper, when you wrote it out, that's a subtle difference, but it's not subtle at all. It's really powerful, because I have to say for years, I probably even approached it the other way. Hey, this is Todd Sumney going from HomeSmart, blah, blah, click, right? Versus, hey, I'm a local realtor from Zillow, about that house. I mean, it's a really powerful, subtle change. So
yeah, it's definitely a power move. I think it's just the subtle things. And you know what? Words are so important, Todd. I love you. I do. Look at those words are like
right.
Everything.
You got it.
There's emotion behind words.
There is. And I think the key thing here, you use the word recognizable. So the key thing there is they recognize the lead source. They recognize, the house that they're interested in or whatever. So, talking about those things, that's what's important. So, all right, then you go on to point number 3, and you talk about engaging with education. So, talk about that.
We make it our mission to engage with education. Okay, there's a lot of misinformation on the media. There's a lot of misinformation online. I mean, everywhere you look, people are just kind of clueless about the whole real estate experience, okay? And what we do is we give people a reliable place to go get that. And it's theroundtableradio.com. And that's our whole blog page, our podcast, and all of that. And, it's a work in progress. We're constantly working to be better and give the right info. But Todd, if somebody is calling me, I'm not letting them off of the phone until they fully understand what's going on in the market and until they fully understand exactly what they need to do to win in this market. And people find a lot of value in that, and they really genuinely love my team's confidence when we come at them with that. And it separates us from the person that's just like, oh, okay, you're not interested? Oh, okay, click, bye. Nobody wants to work with somebody that's weak.
Right, right. Well, and that's where, again, I stated at the beginning, I mean, one thing that I've always appreciated about you is your servant heart. So in a sense, you're like saying, I'm going to give you 15 minutes of my time to help educate you, and I'm doing that out of service, and I know that not every person I talk to is going to buy, but and they may not buy right now, but they might buy in 2 years because, hey, remember, Emilio was the only one I talked to 2 years ago who actually helped me and gave me information. Everybody else was like an order taker, just wanting me to buy right on the spot. And if I didn't, they were like, okay, bye, see you, thanks, on to the next one. And that's, that's manipulative, that's salesy, that's not servant helping through education. So,
yeah, you got.
Keep talking. Go talk about that a little bit.
So basically, Todd, we wanted to get away from sales because nobody wants to be sold anymore. Right. And we try to give as much value up front so that they know what we're all about. Like I said, it's a big difference than what people are normally used to. And we just closed on someone today that was just a random call in on one of our listings. And we approached it in that exact way. When I got off the phone with them, I sent them an email and also a text message with one of our videos. And video is huge. I think it's like 85% more engaging than words, right? Right. So we sent that to them, gave them a bunch of tips. They called us back. They were blown away. They closed today, and they're telling everybody about the team, about HomeSmart. It's been fantastic.
Well, one of the other things that you wrote down, for me was like, you said that you look at it as your duty as a real estate professional and someone who ethically wears the R on the lapel each day, right? And so again, that's coming from that service. Let's talk about questions. So how do you get that conversation going? Like, do you have a question that jumpstarts it for you, or that gets that education conversation rolling?
Yeah, definitely. So the question we always ask, and it's so open-ended, it's perfect. What have you heard about the market? Then just say it and then just shut up and let them talk.
Well, I think that's key sometimes, like what we just did just a moment ago. Sometimes people want there to be constant sound. And sometimes it's okay to say something and be quiet, even let there be silence, and wait for the answer. Would you agree?
Yes. See, I let that silence for like 2 seconds, and it was like kind of killer, right? But yeah, silence is actually so powerful. And the first person that talks after that, they say, loses. I don't think so. But, Todd, when you ask that question, they're going to answer it because it's an engaging question. And you're asking them something that they're like, oh, wow, this person's actually interested in what I have to say.
Okay, so let's say I say something about the market. Obviously, you respond and you answer to that, but what are some more of your go-to statements, or do you verbalize and say anything like, look, I'm just here to help. I'm here to give you information. I'm here to, or do you not do that? What do you say? I honestly don't know. I've never been on a call with you.
Yeah, and I honestly don't know exactly. Like, every person's so different, and they're all in different walks of life. Different. That maybe one person's calling you that's a first-time home buyer, and somebody's calling you that is a third or fourth-time home buyer, and they have a home to sell. So it all depends on that person, how to cater that conversation. I'd be more than happy to role play that sometime and answer different objections if you'd like. But ultimately, you just want to start there. What have you heard about the market? And you'll know how in tune they are, and you'll get to understand by how they answer it if they're a detailed thinker, analytical, or if they just want the bottom line. And then you just got to kind of mirror that and use that like as, you know what I mean, to take the conversation on.
Awesome. All good. Those are all good points. Point number 4. You talk about, and this for me was another aha for me too, of wow, that's really smart. That's wise. And it's never follow up just to follow up. And I think you said at one point you implemented, a new rule for your whole team, not to do that. So talk a little bit about how you had that aha and how you implemented it with your team, because, like your own experience, you don't like that when somebody calls you just to follow up, right?
Oh God, it kills me because, people are so busy, right? We're all so busy. And when somebody calls me up and says, hey, Emilio, I'm calling you just to follow up. Think about that for a second. Like, how do you translate that in your head? Because we've all been called by Zillow. We've all been called by other brokerages trying to recruit us. We've all been called by mortgage brokers, so on and so forth. This is how I take it. I'm curious what people think. Leave it in the comments below. I don't even know if there's comments below.
There will be. There will be.
Leave them there. Yeah. All right, awesome, great. So it translates like this, like, hi, prospect number 33. You have not purchased our services yet or called us back to purchase services. So all we're doing is just seeing why you have not purchased our services yet. It's total BS. It doesn't take anything I need or want into consideration. It doesn't talk to me. Okay?
I totally agree.
I hate it. So we don't do it. So we have a rule to just never call somebody just to say, I'm just following up.
I love it. I think you had this thing, you said light bulb, like if it makes you upset, right, then it's got to make your customer upset too. So you got to kind of take that into account and change the way you do business.
Try this, okay? Here's my suggestion, okay? I just realized how much I talk with my hands because I'm looking at my screen over here. This is funny, right? So this is what we do. I say, hi, Gene, you called us a month back about 123 Main Street. It was that red house up on the hill, the one with the huge yard, 2-car garage. I just saw that 157 Main Street came on, and it has a lot of the same features. Is this something you'd like to see? It shows you're paying attention. It shows that, you're looking at things that they might like. And even if they're not interested at all, you're going to get a human response back. You're not going to get an automated programmed, not interested.
I love it. And the key thing there is, okay, so yes, we do need to follow up. But what you just did isn't just calling to follow up. You're actually calling and you're engaging with them, you're giving them some useful information, showing you listened, showing that you care about them. So you are following up, you're just not saying you're doing that, right?
Exactly. I never use the word following up. It's so salesy, it's so old. Get rid of it, throw it out.
I love it. All right.
And never use the word just. I took that word, just is an ugly word. So isn't try and if. I replaced try with will and if with when.
Okay, so how did you train yourself to do that? Did you put like Post-its up around your desk that said just and had an X through it and said replace it with that other word? Or how did you train yourself?
I just got sick of being broke and eating ramen noodles, and I just wanted to live the American dream, bro. So I just did whatever I could, and I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and like I said, I surround myself with people that are smarter than me.
I love it. Awesome. All right, well, let's go on to point number 5 here real quick. All right, hold their hand to the next step. Okay, the 5th power move, hold their hand to the next step. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's your job as a professional to guide people along. So, from the phone call, we're guiding them to the next step. And it's also part of the sales process. And by the way, I think realtors, the successful ones, know sales better than anybody else in any other field, any other profession, okay? And because a lot of people come into this profession from outside, and we get to kind of all put our own little twist and tweaks on it. It's awesome. So you know what? It's all about following up, Todd, making sure they have all the information. And by giving them the information and educating them, You're totally empowering them, not to sound cliche, but you always want to be leading them, say, okay, this is what happens next. And I want to leave this thought with you on this one right here, right? If you can tell people what they can anticipate for the most part coming up, okay, if you can spell that out for them, you're going to have way less headaches later on, and they're going to look at you as the true professional. Because there's nothing worse than, let's say, when you're listing someone's home and you don't tell them ahead of time about closing costs. When a buyer comes in and asks about closing costs, it's a pure nightmare, right? So you got to do all that stuff ahead of time before you even take the listing, or before you're even working with a buyer. You got to talk with them about all that. Right. That's holding their hand.
I love it. Well, I think the thing, I heard from you is, all of us grown-ups are nothing more than just big kids.
And yeah, we are. I'm a big kid.
Right. And so that holding your hand or guiding them through the process, really powerful. All right, so we got our 5 points. Your speed to action is 100% vital. Winners are recognizable. Engage with education. Never follow up. Point number 4, never follow up to just follow up. Remove the word follow up from your vocabulary, right? And number 5, hold their hand to the next step. But then you kind of wrote down something for me. You said, bonus, don't be a pushover. So in our last minute that we got here, what do you mean, don't be a pushover?
Yeah, just when you answer that phone, talk with a smile and talk with confidence, right? People love confidence. It's like when you're dating. You would never go up to a girl and be like, hi, I'm Emilio. Can I take you on a date? No, I'd be like, hey, how are you? My name's Emilio. What's your name? That's it. People love confidence and they want to work with the best. Even if you're not the best, even if I love this, okay? When I started in real estate, I realized that the top 20% of agents sold one or more home in Rhode Island. So when I sold my first home, when I was talking with people, I slid in there that I was in the top 20% of realtors in the state.
I love it. That's awesome. I love it. So confidence. One of our other top agents, he says all the time, he says, say you're the best and then make it so. Feel like you're the best and then make it so. Think you're the best, So it's kind of interesting when you talk to top producers all around the country, they all say the same things. So it's like, you're just reinforcing that point. So I love it. I think you've given everyone a lot of value today. In our last minute here, okay, parting thoughts to the real estate agent community while I got you here on the stage. What can you say? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I do actually. I think I think there's a lot of us right now stepping up to the plate. I see it a lot going on at HomeSmart and other brokerages too, where people are realizing that the professionals are going to last in this industry. A lot of changes coming up. The sky is not falling, but you got to give value. Okay, you got to give value and just do your best every day to take care of the client and make it a pleasant experience.
Those are wise words, and you've given us all a tremendous amount of value today. I wish I was out in Rhode Island in that balmy, beautiful, sunny seaside area right now instead of the desert out here right now. It's a little warm out here, but tell everyone back in Rhode Island, tell Dean and Nivea and the whole team back there how much we appreciate them. And, we just thank you so much for being here today on the podcast with us. So, Emilio, thank you.
Todd, thank you. Thank you. We couldn't do it without you. Appreciate you and the whole team back there and everybody at HomeSmart International and everybody listening.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So to all of you, this is, the end of the real estate podcast here. Go to Emilio's blog, though. We're going to post it here on the screen for you. Just because of the subtle wording that he talks about, answering it one way, don't do that, answer it this way. Go to the blog, print it out, write down the words, and learn from the points that he shared with us today. So everyone, thank you. This is Todd Sumney, Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart International. Emilio DiSpirito from HomeSmart in Rhode Island. Thank you for being here again today, and we'll see you all next time around.